All right, welcome everybody. This is Barney Kunze, and I am back with you a couple minutes after our start time as we've been testing the audio with all of the presenters that we have for you today. So I'm going to give you just a couple minutes because we were a couple minutes over getting started. One of the presenters, Nan, she was on, she could hear us, but we couldn't hear her. So we want to make sure we get all that right so you guys can hear and tune in. So Alexandria, yes, we are on. We're ready to rock and roll, so thank you for sticking on. And remember that if you're coming in after and you're watching this as a replay, when it's on our Facebook page, remember if you feel inspired about something that's on this chat, on the live interview as a little bit of a talk show, please feel free to share it with the people who you care about, that you know that would really be, that would resonate and be blessed by this information, because I feel like we're going to get into some great stuff today. And so without further ado, we have Danielle Marshall with us on the line. So welcome, Danielle.
Thank you.
So if I can ask, because I don't know exactly, where are you from? Where are you calling in from today?
I am in Little Rock, Arkansas. So just right in the middle of the state of Arkansas in the southern part of the United States. Cool.
How's the weather there today?
It is lovely. It's a nice 70 degrees, sunny afternoon. So it's beautiful here.
Cool. Well, we have snow in Canada right now. We got a nice little snowstorm on Friday night, and some people don't necessarily like it, but I love snow. So people that are in Canada that don't like snow, then I always joke with them. I'm like, there's lots of room in the States. You can move to Florida. So let's get straight into it. Why don't you, I'm going to take myself out of the screen here, and I'd love for you to just kind of share about, kind of who you are, your backstory, like what brought you to where you are today, and what's kind of some of the work that you're doing, and then we'll get into more of the details about your presentation, okay?
Absolutely. Well, I've had a lot of practice learning about natural healthcare for pets. It started actually about 28 years ago when my daughter was a very young child, and when she was about 2, started having a lot of chronic health conditions. And as we continued to visit the pediatrician, and we're finding that the same treatments were being prescribed over and over and over, and those things were not working. I started thinking, something about this doesn't make sense to keep doing the same thing with no better results. And so as time went on, we began to explore diet and a variety of other things. And of course, remind you, this is 28 years ago, and we didn't have Google back then. And we certainly didn't have all the resources that we have now. I mean, you can go to the grocery now and find gluten-free and, everything free, pretty much, products and things available. But that wasn't the case then. And so I had to really do a lot of work to figure out that my daughter had a lot of food allergies, is what it turned out to be. And so fast forward, a number of decades down the road, and I end up with a couple of dogs that had some chronic health issues. One of them she had a lot of skin issues, which in dogs, I'm sure many of you know, the skin is one of the main ways that dogs demonstrate that something is not right in their bodies. And so we were taking her to the vet, and it was the same thing all over again. Let's prescribe all these different antibiotics and a variety of different medications, and things just actually got worse. Until a point where she ended up with an MRSA, a methicillin resistant staph infection on her skin, which was just really, it was very bad. And so at that point, I decided to try something pretty radical, and I ordered some Manuka honey, which those of you in other parts of the world know that Manuka honey comes from New Zealand. It's a very specific medical or strain of honey that's used medically very successfully, and basically treated our dog with this honey. I just slathered her body with it and put her in a little shirt, and it was sticky and nasty, but within 3 days, those lesions on her skin started falling off. And so I thought, I think we might have something here. And so that really encouraged me to start just exploring more and thinking about how far we could take this. Well, take that a little bit further, and I also have a Schnauzer who ended up with this huge fatty lipoma on his side, and I took him to the vet, and she said, well, it's just a fatty lipoma. We don't have to worry about that. But what we do have to worry about is the underlying hyperlipidemia or very high blood fats that could cause him to become very, very ill. And she wanted to put him on this prescription diet, a veterinary prescribed diet, which I had previous experience with, which was not a good thing. And so that's when I began researching and learning about nutrition for dogs. Put him on my own diet and worked with the vet and said, I want you to look at this diet and let me know if you're okay with us giving this a try for a month and see what happens. So we tried it. I took him back in a month, and she looked at me and she said, I've never seen results like this, so dramatic change in only a 4-week period. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So, after this few month little episode of these things that gave me great pause to think about, how these things are available to us, but we don't really know about them. And as I began to really start researching, I realized that the term natural is just really thrown around in a lot of really indiscriminate ways. It's very poorly defined in regulation. There are a little bit of definition out there, but it's very, very poorly defined. Yet manufacturers use it just very indiscriminately. And I have on my screen here, there's a quote that I just think it really sums up how this plays out in the marketplace. The dog industry alone, if the American Pet Products Association, which is a trade association for people that sell pet products, if you just look at the dog market alone, it's $173 billion a year. So that should give you a moment to take pause. But this quote came from Pet Food Industry. So that's a trade group that only represents people that make pet food. And so if you don't take this out of context, because obviously the job of a trade association is to help the people that are members of that organization do a better job and understand what the market wants. But this particular, if you think about what's behind this quote, it really helps you understand that the term natural is really nothing but a marketing term. And so I'm just going to read this quote. It's just 2 sentences, and it says, despite the lack of regulatory definition, despite a far-ranging assortment of label claims used by pet food companies and sometimes complained about by their competition, and despite the resulting consumer confusion, U.S. pet owners seem to keep buying pet foods labeled natural to the tune of $7.3 billion. So basically what they're saying is if you put natural on the product, people are going to buy it, whether it's natural or not. And so that's really how my company came into being, was to help not just pets, but pet parents feel empowered to peel back the covers and look behind the corporate curtain and try to understand how these terms are being used and how to be educated and empowered consumers, because our pets have to live in our world, and how well they do that is entirely up to us. And so that's what Max Naturals is all about. I mean, I do a lot of research, and my job with my company is to educate and to empower and to locate and identify ethically sourced and quality products for pets and pet parents. So does that sort of answer your question there, Barney?
Yes, it sure does. And I was typing actually to try and get that quote, but I didn't. So you have to get that quote after, and because when this is finished, then you can pop it in the comments there. And I like to make sure that I like to share the love with you guys as presenters, because really at the end of the day, without participants or registrants or attendees, we wouldn't have an event. But without presenters, we wouldn't have an event. And without me, you guys wouldn't have an event. So we all serve a purpose. And I say that because I want to be able to share the love. So what is your website so that I can pop it up in the comments here for everybody?
My website is maxnaturals.com, and it's Max with 2 X's. So MAXX naturals.com.
Okay.
And I actually created a whole page. You'll see it right there on the main menu of information directly from the summit. So it's maxnaturals.com/animal. Well, I think it just says Wellness Summit.
Yeah, good on you. I see that. Yeah, and you've got your image up there and everything. Let me see if I'm going to try something fancy here in a second and pull it up. Let me pop it in the comments here for 1 second, and then I'll actually pull it out. So that definitely sums it up. And you said you've been doing what you're doing for how long now?
Well, I've only been doing it officially as a business. I retired from corporate a couple of years ago and have been doing this full time since then. And this will be my full-time work going forward. But of the first 10 years of my career, I actually worked in research in a laboratory. So I have a really good science background, which has been extremely valuable for me in learning how to, or when I know enough about the science to know when, to dig a little bit deeper. But then I also spent 25 years running operations in the business world. And so that's really kind of also given me a lot of good insight to know, how to really open those corporate doors and look behind the curtain and try to help and educate parents when they need to know how to do that as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the comment by Jamie here, is a good one. And I think that sometimes it can be very common to think, it's really bad and negative, and there's the brainwashing. And I'm not saying that Jamie's saying there's anything bad, nor are you. You're providing facts. But I like to look at it as like, there's the super positive, super negative, and there's the middle road. And I think that what's awesome about this is that, not awesome, but what's the purpose in it is that it wakes up the people who are consciously engaged in their lives,
exactly,
and their pets and animals' lives. And I think that that's why I know that that's what this event has came here to do, why we're here to do this.
Right.
I just think it's awesome, and good on you for doing what you're doing. And I'm going to just put this up here so you can go and check out Danielle's website. And I'm going to pull it up here in a second after I'll get it all queued up here, because I can actually pull up your website and show everybody. So that's awesome. So that's great to get to know you a little bit more. And now your presentation. Now, I know that you were on yesterday. So at the time of this recording, it's day 3 or November the 12th. And we have had nothing short of a very interesting and rocky start with links breaking and people not getting passwords and stuff. But now the comments, what's great about our membership site is where you will go in to listen to the presentations and watch them, is that you guys can actually go in and leave comments. Don't treat it like a bathroom stall and just write whatever. But the great comments would be, see what you learned or what challenged you or open up your mind. And there were some great comments on yours, Danielle. I was reading them, and I think people were just kind of blown away. Mainly that some people were kind of like, I'm freaked out, like I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's like, there can be that doom and gloom of all the stuff that's happening. But now in your presentation, for those that haven't heard it yet, can you tell them just a little bit about what your presentation is all about and what it can empower them to do from listening?
Right. Sure. And the goal in doing the presentation was not to frighten people, but to awaken, if you, that's the word I like to use, because it really was an awakening for me, to help pet parents understand how to uncover where these hiding places are, where toxins live. And it's not just for your pets. I mean, obviously, if your pets are exposed to them, you and your family are exposed to them as well. And we're all mammals in the same general space, whether you're, a dog, a cat, a horse, whatever, but we're all exposed to the same things. And so, yes, our pets succumb to these things much faster because of the size and just their behavior patterns, but just helping people to understand where how ubiquitous these things are, where they are, and where they're hiding was the first part of the presentation. And then the second part of the presentation was helping people understand what the long-term health implications are. Most of these things are things that we're exposed to every single day. So it's very minor, very tiny, minute exposures, but over a very prolonged period of time. And that's really where the damage comes from. And so if you think, just as an example, plastics, if you feed your cat canned food, for example, the lining of the can is full of BPA, or bisphenol A, which is a plastic, it's ubiquitous in almost everything plastic in your home. And those things are, they're called endocrine disruptors. And basically the way it works is and again, I'm just using this as an example, but bisphenol A confuses your body, and your body thinks it's estrogen. And so it disrupts the overall endocrine pathway, or the way that the endocrine system is supposed to work. And so that was just an example, but it's just the health implications of the long-term exposure to all of these the toxins. And then finally, how to minimize, number one, or avoid toxins when you possibly can, but also how to look for safe alternatives and ways that you can, for example, ways that you could use non-toxic flea and tick repellents, or ways that you can do things in your yard, for example, that don't involve herbicides and pesticides. Those are just some examples. Obviously, we could only do so much in an hour, but going forward, I'll be adding much, much more content to my website, and you'll be able to come back and just hopefully enjoy continuing to learn more and more as I'm able to develop and create more and curate more content on those topics.
Well, that is amazing, because you may or may not know this yourself as a presenter, because I know that you came on, did you come on through Nathan?
Well, I know Nathan, but also Eva over in Spain is a good friend of mine.
Eva's like the queen of networking, and
yes,
like 7 or 8 people to the table. She's awesome. So that's awesome. So I say that listening to you, why I asked how you came on to join us as a community, is that the whole purpose of the Animal Wellness Summit, and for all of you, I'd like to just kind of pause for a second, let you know that there's a lot of purpose behind this. I'm not an animal expert, and I've had some people ask me, like, well, why the heck are you doing this if you're not an animal expert? But where my strength lies is in connecting and working with people who are the experts, that I can take the information and to the people who care, the things that matter to the people who care. And I'm presuming that you care and you're interested, because you're here either watching this live or you're on as a recording. And 7 years ago, I was my life mission and vision and legacy, part of it anyways, was made very clear. And part of my life purpose and life's work is to inspire and educate millions and millions of people around the world to get better in touch and in tune with the plant and animal kingdom. And so I'm in the health and fitness field and holistic health, and also have a great passion for all things holistic, and using essential oils, and now getting into this with learning more about and having a greater appreciation for the things that I learned growing up on a farm. And all that to say, to the point that you left off with, is that you're going to be able to put more content together as we continue to grow our Animal Wellness Summit community. If you guys are listening, this summit is not the end. This is like the start of a lot what's coming down the pipeline. So I'm really excited to share. And so, as an example, Danielle, I can tell that you have a lot to share. And the neat part is that down the road, we're going to have some other calls. And so you guys as presenters, yes, but as attendees can interact and engage with everybody. And it's going to be really cool.
And thank you so much, Barney, for this opportunity to connect with such a worldwide audience. It's just really been awesome. And the comments I've received are very encouraging. I'm really very much looking forward to connecting with all the attendees and learning how we can really make a big difference for our pets.
Yes, you're welcome. And I'm glad that there's people appreciate it. There's been some, as there always is, as there's cold and hot and night and day and black and white, there's positive comments and not so positive comments, and I welcome them both and say, great, thanks for sharing your perspective. If you enjoyed this presentation or you didn't, either way, if you're thirsty and there's a glass of water on the table, drink it, and if
Absolutely.
not, keep on going. So I'm going to pop in your website here, and let's try this for a second. We can both actually come off the screen here. So you guys, I'm going to put this in on the comments here, and Danielle, can you see it nice and clear?
I can.
Okay. So I just put it in the comments for those of you who are watching, and this is great with your image there. And I thought there was a ubiquitous, appearing or found everywhere. So there's that ubiquitous is a very interesting name. Just like peculiar. One day I was hanging out with some friends and I couldn't say peculiar properly, and we were having a laugh. And ubiquitous was another one of those words because I couldn't pronounce it correctly at one point in my life. But anyway, so when you go to Danielle's site, you can see this. She's got a tab already set up and dedicated to the Wellness Summit. So go and check it out. And again, I like to make sure that you guys have access to be able to learn from some of the best in the world. And that's why Danielle's here. And we have two other presenters on to share with you, Lizzy and Nan. Let's hope that Nan's mic is working. And so Danielle, as we're kind of wrapping things up here now for your section, do you have any other pearls of wisdom that you'd like to share with everybody before you're done here today?
I don't know if I have pearls of wisdom, but I would certainly appreciate any feedback from the community as to questions they might have, gaps in any of the content that I've created or haven't created, because I certainly want to respond to what the community is really looking to learn. And that's really where I want to focus my energy is where am I missing the mark? What would the community like to see more of? And that's really where I want to focus my energy.
Very cool. And we will be doing surveys for sure. Whoops, I forgot that. Oh, we're all good. Yeah. Doing surveys after, asking people like what they liked, what they didn't like, or what they would like to see better as we continue to grow. And we'll keep moving from there. And so I just to say this here, Jamie was just saying that appreciate all that you do and your desire to continue to learn and educate others. So appreciate your comments, Jamie, and I know Danielle probably does as well.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule on a Sunday.
My pleasure.
With us. And so you can just make sure that you're checking the comments out in the membership site, because there's still the people that are the VIPs or have the paid access. They can go back and catch up. By the way, if you guys are watching and you're like, well, what the heck? I watched this after as a replay, and this is day 4, day 5, and then Danielle's presentation is on day 2. We have an option where you can pay for $47, a very nominal amount, to get access to all of the material during the 10 days. And if you're inspired and you want to get the whole package that we offer, cool. And if not, then just take what you can get. And again, thank you, Danielle, for coming and joining with us today.
Thank you.
All right. Well, have a great day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, great. So I think, Nan, let's just pop you up here right now. I know Lizzie's screen looks a little frozen again, so she might have to refresh her browser. Let's try your mic out. Is it working? No. If you maybe see if you can go log on your phone, and I'm going to pull in Lizzy here. See if you can just click on the link. And just so you guys know, when you're doing a live like this, especially with this platform with BeLive TV, and you're managing multiple different things at a time, there's always something that is going to challenge you to become more adept with some of the technology. And that's what we're doing right now. So Lizzy just refreshed her screen, and she's going to be coming back on here. And somebody is feeding me some nice compliments, so I'm going to put it up on the screen here. And by the way, Jody, I'm going to pay you $20 like I promised later, right, to jump on here and say how wonderful I am. But no, I'm here not to impress anybody, just to impress upon you the importance of really staying connected to the community that we've started and created. That's already really been here. It's just that there's been a lot of people coming in and being like, this is so needed. This is like way overdue, and this is amazing. And so I think that you guys are really going to be pumped to see what we have planned for you in the future. So thanks, Jody. I really do appreciate your comments. And Margaret, I'll just put this up here and say that I can't answer your question personally, not because I don't want to, just because I don't know, but I'll let one of the other presenters who can address that. Maybe Danielle can go back in the comments there and maybe leave you a comment and see if she can help you out with that, okay? And then, so we're going to pull up Lizzy here, I think, and then we're going to keep rocking, okay? And any questions, by the way, while we're doing this, you guys can let us know. And Lizzy, are you with us?
Yeah. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
So I think it was just sometimes if it looks like it's freezing, if it gets really bad, I'll let you know. But I don't know. Did you happen to plug in directly your computer?
No, I don't have the attachment to do that.
Okay. So. No problem. So let's get straight into it. So why don't you, you're Lizzy Meyer, and where are you tuning in from today?
I am in a little town called Comfort, Texas, outside of San Antonio. And this whole country, it's pretty gorgeous here.
Yeah. Sounds like the opposite gorgeous in Canada, but it's wet and snowy right now.
Yeah, we don't have that.
So why don't you just tell us a little bit about you and your story, and kind of, a little bit of background so people have an idea about who you are and what it is that you do.
Okay.
And then let's get into your stuff about your presentation, okay?
Okay. So I'm Lizzy. My business is called Whole Horse Consulting, but with just as many dogs. You can probably hear mine in the background. I've been doing this, entire kind of natural animal care path for about 20 years. And I started out actually working in vet clinics as a volunteer from the age of 12. And I ended up, don't know why he's barking. I'm sorry. Come here, Ben. Come here. Sorry. And anyway, so working at vet clinics and noticing that there was that had so many and owners who dearly love them, but it seemed to be hard for people to see outside of the box of what was possible with regards to their healing. And so, through several different dogs and other animals, I ended up on a different journey. And I would say at the age of 16, we had 2 families had died, by the age of 6 or 7. So I was learning all about vaccines and conventional care, and learning to ask questions about nutrition. I was calling, dog food companies and, just grilling them on ingredients and everything else. And I ended up taking one of our family dogs to a veterinary homeopath, actually, when I was about 16, because she had some chronic disease related to vaccines. And that's detailed in my presentation, so we won't go too far into that right now. But basically, it changed my path to start thinking holistically about everything. And so later, when I went to college, I went to Sweetbriar College in Virginia and graduated in '03 with a biology degree. And my intention was to go to vet school. But chemistry and I just could not get along no matter what I did. And I finally was able to kind of take the hint that there was a different path for me. So I ended up doing a lot of work with horses, with their behavior and psychology, and working with a lot of project horses that were donated to the college. And so I had to learn how they really perceived things, how they thought, how they interacted with people. And ultimately, I remember sitting down on a bale of hay and just looking at this thoroughbred who was just wired. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know, what technique, what natural horsemanship technique was going to work for him. And I just said, show me what makes you tick. Show me what's important to you. Like, I want to be inside your head. I want to understand this. And from that point on, I started to have much more success with these horses that were, labeled as problems, because I was starting to see you as the horse is the teacher, I'm the student. I really have nothing to teach them, but I have everything to learn. And so I took that approach and basically have devoted my life for the last 20 years to all things holistic animal care. And that has been incredible because I've had the opportunity. I've gone to veterinary technician school. I've assessed small animal veterinarians on the conventional emergency medicine side, incredible equine vets, holistic vets, and have learned to see from this other perspective, and also from a point of empowering the owner or the guardian to do something different. Because to me, healing is all about the connection between the person and the animal. And in that type, the connection itself is, in my opinion, what governs to what degree the animal is able to heal and what kind of healing the owner can receive at the same time. That's really not about us or them. There's no veil between us. We are equals. I fundamentally believe that. So in empowering owners, I like to help them to see their animal's perspective, what they're feeling about the situation, what the options are for the animal, and then find a way to help them to work with their vet or their trainer or whoever the professional is so that they end up feeling completely empowered no matter what happens. So I work with a variety of animals, but like I said, especially horses and dogs. And it's all about the whole being. So every consultation goes over mental, emotional, physical, environmental, nutritional, the bond, the connection. So whenever there's, a problem, it's just a symptom. So I end up digging down and kind of exposing all those pieces and finding the piece in the foundation that needs some repair. And then we move forward.
Very good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, I would agree from my experience as a coach in working with humans, coaching humans in holistic health, that there's no just coach and client, or there's two people interacting and engaging and working together. And I take it, I great honor as being a coach. I love my clients and the people I've had a chance to work with. And it sounds to me like a lot of what you're doing and do now is really working not only with the owner, the pet parent. Like, you mainly work with horses, is that right?
Horses and dogs, but yeah.
Okay. So you work with like the horses. So like sometimes when people bring you their horse and you do some work with them, or is it like a tandem thing, like the horse and the owner come together? Or
yeah, that's a great question, Barney. I actually do a lot of work over the phone. We'll do long distance consultations or Skype, and the owner is usually reporting a behavior issue or some chronic pattern that is driving them crazy about this horse, and no one can really help it because it's so far outside of the box. I've also done a lot of on-site work, and that's been successful in teaching specifically centers that do therapeutic riding or equine assisted mental health. Those are kind of a favorite client type for me, because those horses are doing, in my mind, such an act of service. They really do deserve, they all deserve the very best, but due to the emotional, kind of the emotional sponge that horses kind of have this tendency of being, I think it's really important to optimize their environment, their relationships, their routines, their diet, their environment, everything possible to keep those horses in balance so that they can be of service but not experience burnout, which is extremely common in that world. So I kind of, I'll go places, but a lot of times it starts over the phone. So.
Okay. So that's good, because I know there's been people that asking, they're like, and some of the other calls we did with the presenters, they're like, oh, this is great, this is awesome, but I'm in Florida and you're in Colorado, right?
Right.
So I think that's pretty awesome. And again, just because it's something where great for anybody who's listening. If you're listening, you're like, wow, this sounds really cool, and you want to learn more, then I'm going to put your website is Whole Horse Consulting, right?
That's right.
Okay, so I'll put that in here, and then I'll see if I can do the same thing and actually just show everybody. I'll pull up the screen here again and do this. So while I'm doing this, anything else with your presentation, let me actually, as a kind of, I guess I'm asking you the question here, but let me first just kind of show everybody. So here is Lizzy's site. So you go to wholehorseconsulting.com, and you can go and check that out. And yeah, feel free to contact her if you're interested, and learn more about what it is that she does and how she works. And so that's pretty awesome. Now, your presentation, can you tell us a little bit, just a sneak peek, if anybody hasn't, well, if nobody has listened to your presentation yet, because you're scheduled on the 18th,
right,
which I think is
Saturday.
Yeah, so I think that's day 9.
Right.
Or, well, no, that would be, is it? Because it's a 20th.
I think you're right. It's day 9.
Well, then maybe, I don't know. But at any rate, it's, when you guys look at the schedule, I said this on the last call, I should have had the schedule ready with me. But you'll be presenting at some point in the next little while. So maybe just give us a little bit of a sneak peek about what people can look forward to learning from you in your presentation.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, the title is Heart to Heart, Connecting with Conscious Healing. So it's kind of a broad topic, but because I end up working with really challenging cases where the person is just, they're kind of over it, they're really ready to have a solution, and they're really ready to get outside of the conventional box that has served them well to a point, but now we need to do something different. It's all about teaching what the other possibilities are and how to get there. And it's about what is healing, who's involved, who are the players. There's a lot of misconception about, a healer versus someone who's doing the work versus a conduit or a channel. Those words all get kind of garbled. So I'd like to clarify, what that is, and that's definitely in the presentation. And finding ways for the owner or the guardian to support the healing process without suppressing symptoms or doing anything that would slow the process down. Simple things like acknowledging how the person is feeling about the situation with their animal, and then finding a way to offer options to the animal in a very tangible way that honors the animal's ability to choose. And they're not choosing with their minds like we are, but they choose based on the energetics. It's how they communicate, it's how they do everything. So if one option, feels good to us, it resonates with us, and then another option feels good to the animal, it's most likely to stick. So finding a way to do that, to provide support, and then also helping the guardian to feel empowered in the process. They are not, just throwing this case to a professional saying, here, fix it. Or I really don't know what to do. What's the next, magical supplement or whatever. It's not about that. This is about the relationship and the connection between the person and the animal. And it's acknowledging that the animal has something to teach the person, and then we have things to offer the animal. However, they can say no. This is all about asking permission and respecting them during their own journey. So when all of this happens, when all the ingredients are in place, the end result tends to stick because there's been an incredible degree of awareness on the owner's part, and they are now fully committed to the process of engaging the animal in their own path.
Yeah, so it's, as I forgot to unmute myself, really, empowering the owner or the guardian to be feeling a little bit more in control, because I think that that's a common theme when it comes to just in health and wellness in general, whether it be with animals, pets, or with humans, is that too often when the health starts to go down, it's usually when somebody hasn't taken their power back, so to speak, or they're not feeling empowered, and they're kind of like, oh, tell me what to do, what should I do? And it's a pretty scary place to be in. And then imagining, I'm imagining thinking if I'm an animal or a pet and they're feeling that way, but they can't hey, Lizzy, like I'm feeling really like, sad today or whatever, like having a bit of a rough go of it right now. Can you help me out? Even with humans, even though we have the ability to express clearly how we're feeling, it's still a challenge. It can be a challenging experience in that. So I think that's pretty good.
And our animals feel it. That's the other part. We can be one thing on the inside and another thing on the outside, but the animal sees both of those images. They feel both of those images. So if we can be the same inside and outside, and then come from that place of strength and power, and here are your options, and here's how I will support you on this path, things are going to go much, much better for both of you.
Yes, well, I think that is awesome. And now if people want to learn more, they're just going to have to be patient and wait till your presentation comes up, which is amazing. So any closing words of wisdom that you'd like to share with everybody?
Well, I'm just really grateful to be included in this summit. So thank you, Barney and Nathan and Will, everyone who referred me over here. So I'm really looking forward to hearing after they've heard the presentation. It's chock full of 20 years of experience watching animals heal from all kinds of behaviors and physical things. And, it's like, I feel so lucky and so blessed to be surrounded by this menagerie of animals that have been labeled as give up cases. But they still have this vital force and this spark that said, don't give up. I'm here to teach. And then recover. So I really want to share that with people, and I want to hear what their experiences are once they take that seat of empowerment. So it's not about a certain technique. It's, one of my favorite things to say is intention trumps technique. It's very, very, so it's being present and making the effort to listen. And that's where the magic comes in. So I'll be really curious what everyone has to share at the end.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the neat part is now that we have things a little bit more under control, we had so many people coming in at once that it was just clogging, and just like we always were. Okay, we're prepared. We've got extra bandwidth. We've got a dedicated server. We've got all this stuff happening, and stuff happens. And my motto in life, I get it from the Navy SEALs, is improvise and adapt and overcome. And then I added my pieces. Just either way, just get the job done. So we've been so with that being said, the one feature that I'm excited about this year with this event, because it's the first time, is that there's the comments that have been enabled. And right now we actually just have to go through and moderate them, but we're looking at maybe changing it. And then if there's an inappropriate comment or whatever, or something says sometimes people don't realize what they're typing and where it's going to show up. But when you're watching Lizzy's presentation and Danielle's presentation, if you go back, if you guys are paid members and have access to be able to go back, or if you'd like to, then you can. And Nan's presentation, because she's up next, is go ahead and leave them a comment, okay? Because as presenters, sometimes, they put all this work and energy and effort into, and you can just stay on there still, Lizzy, is that go put all this time and energy and effort into it and for free. And, they didn't just wake up and, okay, here's the presentation, it's done. A lot of the presenters have been, accumulating information. They're sharing their wealth of wisdom with you. So definitely just go ahead and leave a comment, say, I love this, or, I'm not too sure on this. Can you clarify for me? Because it's really great as a presenter for me, even though I'm not presenting in this one, when I go to speak somewhere, and if the room's completely silent, say, what did you guys like best about it? Then, and the room's silent, it's kind of like, okay, did I do a really good job? Or are you guys like, hey, when's this guy getting out of here? Because I'm sick of him. So anyway, so all that to say, go ahead and leave them a comment. And Sandy, I'm actually going to show you where their presentations are. If you're not yet registered, I'll share the link here in a second, but I'm presuming if you're on the page, I guess if you're on the page, you could not be registered, but I can share the registration link for you to get registered for free. So thank you, Lizzy. I appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your day. And we're going to bring in Nan here in just. All right. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so Nan, I'm just going to give you about 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we're going to get you rolling here. I want to switch the screen over. So let me do this for 1 second. This is for you, Sandy. Okay, and anybody else who's wondering where the presentations are, I'm going to show you. So I'm going to stay on, but I'm going to show you exactly on the screen. So first of all, you just go to animalwellnesssummit.com. What it's going to do is it'll actually redirect to what's called a subdomain, so to speak. Basically, it takes you to our homepage, and it'll go to 2017.animalwellnesssummit.com/home. Then you can go click here, and this will register you. Once you fill out that form, it'll get you registered, then you get ready to roll. And then what you do is you go to the login page, and you just simply log in, and it takes you into what's called a membership site, or a gated access or community. And then, Sandy, so that you can see this, basically all of the days are showing here. And so, for example, like right now is today is day 3, but because we had a little bit of a bumpy start and an interesting start, we left days 1 and 2 up. So you'd click on day 3, and then you'd click like on this one here, Dr. Andrew Jones, and then you literally can just go and hit play, and you can watch the presentations. And what I was referring to, just to show you very clearly, is right here down at the bottom. This part right here is where you can leave a note for the presenter on that given page of that which you're listening to, okay? And then I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about this with we still have our 50% off special that is still on, and I am gonna share a little bit more about that at the end for those of you who wanna get in and get going, because really, I mean, the prices that are listed there is still, the full price is, I mean, if you took even $10 of all the presentations and said, okay, one presentation totally would be worth $10, multiplied it by 50 to 55, you're looking at a couple $100. But we're putting this there to share this with you guys. And it's only a couple more days. And at the time of this recording, it's at the end of, today's the 12th. So the end of Monday, November the 13th, 2017 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time is when the 50% discount ends. So make sure that if you're interested, then you can go in and check that out. So Nan Martin, are we?
Hello.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Barney.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Woohoo.
We saved the best for last, because this was a nail biter, and I was sitting on the edge of my seat, like literally, because Nan tried one computer, tried another computer, and now she's on her phone, and we are in business. So I don't want to waste any time. I'd love for you to just share with everybody, who you are, where you're at, located in the world, and kind of a little bit of a story about who you are, so they can get to know you a little bit better. And then we're going to talk about what you're doing now, how they can learn more about you, and then we'll get into your presentation. Okay?
Yep. Great. So I am located in Florida, probably the Wellington Horse Group, about an hour north of Wellington, Florida, Palm Beach, Florida. And I have an interesting background. I was born into a home where my mom was extremely abusive, verbally, definitely physically, and on top of it, the house had a lot, it was 300 years old plus, so it had a lot of paranormal activity. So that created quite the circumstances to not only get started, but I would say it set me up for, everything who I am now and everything I do. You can imagine. So I was also born like almost wanting to ride right away. I can even remember 2 and 3 years old asking to ride. So by the time I was 5, which is pretty young to get people started in riding, I was already riding. By the time I was 7, I think I owned a horse. I was already competing, at 4-H and doing everything I could. I grew up in New Jersey, 20 minutes from the U.S. equestrian team. So, the animals, and we had cats. I didn't have any dogs back then, but the animals became, my survival mechanism, if you want to say. Same with riding. Riding was surviving. If I was riding, I was surviving. Also, the second part of that is that, and I'm sure people who can relate to where I was at, when you grow up in that kind of environment, you have to have a sense and an awareness all the time of what's going on. You're constantly sensing and on hyperactivity of what is going on. The gift in that is that most of those people are incredibly intuitive. They have to be. You have to be intuitive to survive, just like animals in the wild were hardwired to survive. And I guess the downside of growing up in that environment is people become very, very buried under false beliefs, under emotional garbage, under somebody else's voice, and you lose themselves. So with that said, that is a big part of what I do. I term it discovery coaching, is helping people regain themselves, refine themselves, and that includes our animals. So, the animals also tend to get buried in not only sometimes their emotional garbage, but also everybody else's. They tend to take on everybody's stuff. And they're trying to be helpful, but sometimes they need to also understand that that's not the best way of going about it. So, being an equestrian, I was an equestrian my entire life. I've been in and out of the business as a professional trainer, the hunter jumper industry. And particularly, I want to say back in 2006, it probably was, I got introduced to the oils. Now, I'd used oils before, but it was different. I laughed because my chiropractor at the time, an older gentleman, AK, when I asked him about the oils in his office, you'll love this, Barney. I said, I've always used those oils before, but never had any good results. And he's kind of an older, grandfather type gentleman, right? And he just looked at me and goes, "That's because you're using the wrong oils."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and,
I've heard that many times myself. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, and he had Young Living oils all over his office. So, so the interesting part of that, though, was I just moved, I guess, from I was living in Arizona at the time. I just moved back into Wellington, and because I kind of wanted to go back and I admit ride at a top level again, but be able to do it holistically. And that was kind of an interesting goal for me, because going back into, you may not be aware of this, Barney, but Wellington is like where everyone in the world shows in the winter. Everybody polos there. That's where everybody went. And when I was there, to think, oh, well, you weren't going to show your horse with aspirin or bute or this and that. That was almost unheard of. But when I showed a lot out in Tucson, that's kind of where I started that. I was already doing a lot of chiropractic before people were doing chiropractic. I was doing flower essences with using the old blends people may remember from Equilite, Stacy Small. And I was already doing that, but it was like putting everything to the test. And then at the same time, I was introduced to the oils. So here I was at this, show barn and able to just start using the oils. I would say you just start using the oils on every single aspect. The mental, right? When people have a lot of show nerves, animals have show nerves. That's mental, that's worry. Emotional, which is you're dealing with, grief or fear. And then you're dealing spiritually, you're dealing with connection issues. People have lost their heart connection. And then, of course, the physical, that goes unsaid. So I was able to put that to the test. And that's when I created my website, Experience Essential Oils, that probably millions of people use at this point.
I'm just coming back on here. Yes. Can you hear me? I don't know
Yep,
if
I can.
good. And what did you say about millions of people are doing right now?
I was saying that, that's when I created after, back in 2010, after I was using the oils for a couple of years and
Yeah.
really immersing myself in using them for the horses. This was before not hardly anyone was using the oils for the horses or showing anything. Then I put my website together, Experience Essential Oils.
Yep. So that, yeah, I did. Oh, right. I had that up on the screen. I was like, let me put it up on the screen. And it was up there the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah, as Denise was just saying that she uses the oils with her animals and loves them. And I wanted to just let people know we, majority of the people, presenters on here who are using the oils are from Young Living. But there's lots of other people that are using from other companies. And I want to make sure we obviously, be biased with our opinions about Young Living, but I want to be 100% clear. I look at this as like, we're hockey fans, okay? We all love hockey, but we have different jerseys. We wear different jerseys or we use different companies, and some people like, this company or that company. At the end of the day, I think it's important we all find a common ground on that. And I'm just addressing this with you, Nan, because you have a lot of experience with the oils, and I think people are going to learn a lot from you. But I know some people are like, oh, well, hey, is this like just a commercial for Young Living? And no, it's not. It's a chance for us to put it out there. If you're interested, great, and you want to contact one of the presenters and learn more about the oils, you want to talk to Nan, go for it. But I just wanted to put that out there so that if you guys are listening and you're like, well, I've never used the oils before and I'm interested, then totally cool. If you're using from a local health food store or somewhere else, we can educate you on the different levels or different kind of grades of the oil, so to speak. But the intention of this event really is, it's a big part of it, but probably about 30% of the presentations have to do with the oils. And somebody like Nan, she's been using the oils for a long, long time, and you have a lot of experience with them. And so I just thought I wanted to share that a little bit because it's important to me that people don't, kind of get their nose bent at a joint, because we're talking a lot about Young Living. It's the company that we use and we're passionate about. But if you choose to use something else, totally cool. But can you share a little bit just about your presentation? Because you have two of them, right?
Yeah, I'm in two parts. And before I get into that, I totally agree with Barney. Even in my presentation, I say I prefer Young Living. But, all I ask of people do is just make sure you do your due diligence, because there are the different grades, as you say, and some of them may do more harm than good on your animals. So make sure you're working with a company that you can use them for animals. And there's a lot more information in the presenters. Everybody's been doing a really good job of that from what I've seen so far. And also, on my website on that.
Yes.
So, so I have two parts or two segments of my presentation. As a matter of fact, maybe we could put up, you probably will at one point, put up the link to my website. So what I did for everybody is I put together a special workbook for everyone that has some of the notes for the presentation. So if you go to, Nan Martin Coaching /AWS.html, you'll be able to download those notes and double opt-in. But the first part of the presentation, I love that I kind of followed Lizzy and Danielle, because I'm really going through exactly what a lot of what's being said here in a general sense is that we have to be addressing the whole animal. And, so the topic is about the 3 top mistakes to avoid when working with your animals. And I do that because, I've been working with animals for so long, and especially in my business for the last 10 years. So these are kind of the top 3 mistakes that I see. One is not addressing the whole animal. We've heard that over and over again today, which I love, is that the emotional component is really important. And what I want to say about that, just if I could say one thing, is people are still saying holistic, but they're not really looking at all those aspects. And the emotional component, if you have a dog or an animal, or even yourself, if you are emotionally shut down, meaning buried in emotions, your body is not healing. No one's body is healing. You're not breathing, you're not eliminating, the body is not really functioning. So it's important to get that aspect cleared up first. The second bullet is using generalized protocols over intuitive protocols. I'm not saying that general protocols are wrong, but I really want people to start to understand that whatever it is, it's an oil or it's a supplement or whatever you're doing, that there's starting to create unique frequencies or unique protocols around your frequencies, since everybody's different, right? We all have different blood types. We all have different energy frequencies, that's going to give you better results. And I do that for all my clients intuitively. So I do all this intuitively, but that particular aspect, I'm going to dive into that on the second segment and go into demonstrations. That's really my forte. So I love doing that. And then the third part is exactly what you were just saying earlier, is, quality over cost, a really understanding the value of things and choosing quality over cost is always the better thing. And I meant quality over when he was saying that, $47 for the entire presentation. That's incredible. That's an incredible value. So you have to look at value when you're deciding what things to choose for your animal and, of course, yourself. So that's a little bit of an overview. What do you think, Barney?
I think that I was on mute and I had to get myself off mute because I was showing your website and it was up there. I think that I agree with you. I think that it's not a one size fits all approach, whether it be for animals or human beings. And I think that the word intuition for some people really they can get freaked out by it. And it really, our innate intelligence, the way that God's designed our body or the universe has designed our body or the way that our bodies are designed is to have a very strong and healthy intuition or connection to our creator, to God, to the universe, depending on how everybody looks at it. But I think that I mention this because I'm in holistic health and I'm in coaching that I do with my clients. And sometimes they get a little scared because they're like, well, how did you know that? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm just curious. This is what kind of came to me. Does it fit? And you mentioned that a couple times. And so if somebody's out there listening and they're like, okay, this sounds interesting, Nan, but what's a quick little example that you could give as like a little takeaway, how to kind of maybe test your intuition, or to know, here's an example, like this is your intuition. Because I think that that's something that will really help people feel and stay more connected to their, not only themselves, but their pets and their animals, right?
Right. Intuition, the thing is with intuition is that intuition is something that just comes to you. It is from your heart connection. When people are in your head, when you're in your head, you're thinking. When you get intuition, then that is just something, it just comes to you naturally. And people that are good at anything, people that are athletes totally get this, especially if you're a trainer. Like I've been a horse trainer, really, and a coach my whole life and around horses. You can't be really good without using your intuition. So I would say to people, make sure you're putting aside your negative beliefs and what you've been told about it, and sort of open up, because you're right, Barney, it's a gift. It's something I call it our inner GPS, right? Because it's something that's born within us, that helps us to guide us all the time, and guide us and be more connected to our animals, and choose things that are better for our animals. And so many people, they second guess their intuition, and they were taught to. I mean, our society in general, right? We are very taught to be very, very left-brained. Well, that's the logical side of the brain, but that's one of the challenges too, is you need to get away from the left brain thinking to step into your intuition. But it can lead you to places that you never thought you would go. Whether it's like, I'm walking out of the door today and going, I'm going to go to the bank instead of the grocery store first. And then I run into somebody that I hadn't seen, or, somebody, you met somebody that you'd never, that maybe it's even a potential client. All of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, because you followed your gut instinct. Or the same with your animal. I want you all to start really being advocates, your own advocate for yourself and for your animal, because, certainly I've gone to, and it's no disrespect to any professionals, but you go to some people and they say to you, oh, well, you need to do this and follow A, B, C for your animal. And it doesn't feel right to you guys. You're probably spot on. It's not going to work, or it probably doesn't feel right for you. If it doesn't feel right with you, at the end of the day, you've got to live with that. So it is, so absolutely follow those feelings. And if you work with somebody on developing your intuition, I do that for people, then you'll start to get those confirmations. And when you start confirming it to yourself, then, and not being negative, like, oh, I'm not right, get out of your mind chatter and your negative thinking, then it will start coming forward more and more. Does that make sense, Barney?
It totally does. I think that one of the elements that goes into like some of the coaching that you do, working with animals, working with pets, working as a guardian, working as a pet parent, working as just being a parent, being a human being, just whatever. In a lot of our interactions is taking responsibility for what it is that we create or co-create moment to moment. Because I've had people challenge me like, oh, that sounds kind of weird, like you're going to create the situation. I'm like, well, you can create and co-create a situation. The best way is to get in a really good heated argument. you can direct the conversation very easily one way or the other. This can go into working with your pets and your animals, and I think that it's just practicing that. And that I think for the intuition side is just something that is really powerful, because then when you just have that inner knowing and you can learn to really trust that, even if you don't have the scientific validation for it, or you don't have a way to logically or rationally explain it to somebody else, sometimes you don't need to. But on the other hand, if you're not really sure and you shared some stuff that you kind of came to you and it kind of maybe got you a little concerned, or you don't know how to understand it, just ask for some guidance. If you're into praying and meditate on it, pray about it, ask for some guidance in some direction. And as an example, as we kind of can wrap things up here on this, is that 7 years ago when I was first inspired, I was at a traditional native healing circle with some of my friends. And I did not expect this to come out of like this whole experience. And basically my life mission and vision and purpose really was made much more clear to me, which is to be in the process of helping educating millions and millions of people around the world to get better in touch and in tune with the plant and animal kingdom. And I was like, what the heck? I'm like, where's this coming from? I'm like, because what I saw as a picture or a vision, a very vivid picture, it scared me, because I'm like, I had no real, the software, so to speak, in my brain at the time, I didn't have the ability to actually process and understand it. It took me about 2 years. And I think that sometimes that can happen, even if it's maybe not the same way for you guys with your animals or with your pets or just a day-to-day situation. That would be something that big. But it was 7 years ago, and then that's one thing's led to another, and here we are at the Animal Wellness Summit. But even though I'm not the animal expert, but I am the expert at helping to connect people who have great things to share with the people that care, that want to learn. And so I say this not to impress anybody. I say this just to impress upon you all, to empower you to learn from what Nan's sharing, integrate it into your day-to-day interactions. And if in doubt, my old coaching principle I got from my mentor is, if in doubt, the phone comes out, and call a friend, call a family member, call somebody else and ask them, just to kind of talk, somebody that you can kind of share with. Maybe if it's that you did go to the vet and you're not really sure, like this is what they said, and you're not really sure what to do. just ask for some guidance and some direction, and I think that it'll come to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think I did put up your website, right?
Okay. Great.
I did. Yeah.
Still, am I still talking? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay. The only other thing I wanted to add on that is to remind people that intuition is a skill. And like you were saying, you know, sometimes something comes out of right or left field and you're like, I don't know how to even process that, because emotions, but that's an emotion, by the way. Emotions need to be processed, and most of the world doesn't process emotions very well because we don't know what they are or what we do with them. Yeah. But you know, I liked the idea of, you know, maybe at least call a friend or do something. The reason is, and this isn't a bad thing, but we get so close to our animals. We're so, even me, if there's something, I can pretty much do 95% of what I need to for my animals. But if my animal's in certain crisis or I'm really concerned, I have a very hard time even choosing things from my animal. You're just too close to the situation. It's like, right, losing your keys in the dark and then looking for your keys in the dark. You can't see it, but when somebody else came in with a flashlight, oh, it's right there. I can't. Oh. Yeah,
that's a great analogy, and also, just even for me, I mean, in my own life with coaching, I work with clients, and it's easy for me to see things, and then I have a friend point something out at me, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how did you see that? Like, where'd that come from? And part of my like inner defense kind of comes up first. But then after I'm like, oh, like that was actually true. And not because I'm not open to it. It's just sometimes at first when you hear it, you're not really sure what to do. And I think that's awesome because you can take it into your care and, training or education with your pets and animals, but also just in interactions with other people that you run into in your life. Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, and it's just, but for me, just really trying to I work very out of the box too. So I'm just trying to plant seeds, and I just ask people, right, just open your mind to not just my presentation, everybody, what people are saying today, and just looking throughout the forum and just really looking at your animal from a different perspective. Whether it's the food, whether it's the diet, whether it's the emotions. I mean, if you're living in your environment, horse people in particular, they totally get that. If there's a problem, hell, we know if there's a problem at the barn and we're at the toxic barn, then we've got problems with our riding, the horse isn't training well, at least with behavioral problems. So, really have to look at it from all those aspects, and especially if you're having a challenge, because that's where I probably come in the most, and especially when you're challenged, because I think that's probably the most calls that I get is the same thing. You get mystery illnesses or mystery lamenesses or, mystery, I don't know, whatever it is, something that's not going right. And I'm like Lizzy, work with the person and the animal to resolve that. And probably 90% of the time, it's something they're trying to show you or trying to process for you as well. So, your animal is that reflection all the time. Very interesting.
And I unmuted myself again. Couldn't get back to you in time, but I agree. And so I think now, with that empowerment, and again, I don't have the schedule in front of me. I was joking on the other call the other day, where we actually there's 4 presenters. There was, if I can get this all right, with 5 different countries, including me. So there's me in Canada. Petra she's in Colorado, I think. Petra Christensen. And then we had Carolina from Sweden, I think. Switzerland or Sweden, one of the two. And then Sarah Jane was from South Africa. And then Eva Survey was from Spain. So it was really cool. As we were talking, we realized wow, there's 5 different countries representing here. And so it's just been great. So thank you. I know Danielle's still with us, but she can't talk. But thank you for staying on here, Danielle, and for your brilliance and wisdom. And Lizzy, she's not on with us anymore. But it's same for her. And then thank you as well, Nan, for sharing, because it's just great. It's really just as we go through the summit, and every day, if you're on the free version, you get 24-hour viewing access. Now that we have, and again, I'll say this, knock on wood, say a little prayer and do a happy dance that we're not going to have any more challenges come our way with the technology. But if we do, it's going to happen, or when it happens, we'll easily overcome it. Sometimes takes a little longer than we would like to hope. But we're here to serve you guys. And yeah, definitely, get in touch with Nan, Danielle, and or Lizzy if there's stuff resonates with you and you want to learn more about what it is that they do. And then keep sharing the event. We got another it's a 10-day event. There's 7 days left. And we're going to keep going strong here. So thanks again, Nan, for tuning in. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. And I just want to say again, thank you everybody out there for tuning in and sharing. Keep sharing it all week. We've got another 7 days left. So keep sharing the love, as they say, and the wealth of information for everybody, so all of our animals can just be healthier and healthier as we're going forward.
Absolutely.
Take care. Yeah.
Thanks, Nan. I am going to, yes, and thanks, Danielle. So if you guys want to, you can welcome to stay on. But what I'm going to do right now, actually, for you guys who are still here, that a lot of these questions come up about, okay, like this is great. I'm in the free part. I'd like to purchase something, or, a couple people already commented down here saying that this lady here, Debbie, thank you, Debbie. It's great to hear that. They said that she purchased the offline access on a flash drive so she could learn forever and ever and ever. Just don't lose the flash drive. And yeah, she did the same, just said that she's so glad that she joined. But we're getting a lot of questions about, okay, like what do we do after? Because, this event is amazing, but inherently there's a big challenge that comes into play with one of these events. It's just like if you go to a live event, it's amazing. You're talking to people and you're taking pictures and you're trying to make notes or take notes and scribble things down and then go home and then try to look at your notes and remember what it is that you were making notes on if you're like me and you have very not so good handwriting. And so when you go to a live event, it's like that where the level of retention information can be really low. And in an online event like this, you get a 24-hour viewing period, but you get to do this for free, stay at home. But just because we put this on for free doesn't mean that it's free to put on. And I only want to share this with those of you who are still interested, whether you're watching this now still live or after as a recording, or as a replay. I just want to show you the couple different options that we have, because we actually have a couple. And right now at the time of the recording, there's still the 50% off. So if you come to this page after, or the link, which I'm going to put in the comments, but you can also find when you go to our homepage where you can actually purchase the flash drive or the digital download. So let me just show you real quick, and I'll tell you kind of the quick and dirty details. So on the flash drive, and you see the pricing is all the same. And basically, because the information and education is all the same, it really just depends on how you want to kind of take it with you after. Okay, if you are interested, meaning that you can get the flash drive, and I have a little one actually right here in my pocket from our other event. I'm just gonna have it set out here, but basically there's like the little flash drive, okay, right here where you can plug it in, or the other one from one of our other events looks like this. It's a little credit card, and you can insert that into your computer. You can plug it in, and it is for your personal use, meaning that you purchase it, it's for yourself, not to be loaded on multiple different computers. At least that's our intention. Is why? Because it's just to respect the presenters and all their hard work that goes into preparing this for you. And then the option on the right is the easy and convenient option, which is the animal wellness or the digital download. So if you're like, hey, I don't want a flash drive, you can just purchase the digital download access. And then after the event's finished, we'll send you a link within a week or two after we get all the content loaded up to the proper server. Then you can actually download it, and then you'd have it on your computer. But with these two options, we found that there were two big challenges that came into play. And one of them being that people were losing their flash drives, or they downloaded it onto their computer and then the computer crashed and they didn't back it up. And right now, with a lot of the way the computers are being designed and created, is that there's not traditional USB drives in them anymore, or ports. They're calling it a USB-C, which is a much smaller version of a USB drive. They're trying to make them smaller and smaller. And all that to say is that as we keep growing in our technology and advancing so fast in technology, we're getting into the world of apps. And so we actually, for our other event with Young Living, we created this app called the Success Summit app. And I actually have it on my phone here right now. So I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this or not, but basically the easiest way to think of this is like Netflix and Audible meets education that we put together in the summit. And so what's really exciting about it is that we set it up as an annual membership. So it's right now $97 a year, or you can actually, there will be monthly options after the summit has finished, where you can literally just pay anywhere between $10 to $20 a month. And then you have access to all of the education right on your app, so that you can listen, watch, and read the presentations anywhere, anytime. But the coolest feature that we are really excited about is that you can actually share that. So if you're listening to a presentation after and Nan's like, hey, or you listen to a presentation by Nan or by Danielle and you're like, wow, that's really great. You can actually just hit the share button and then you can send an email to somebody and it'll send a temporary link to them so that they can actually just watch it. So that's great for those of us who are in Young Living with that education, but also for this, for our Animal Wellness Summit, it's great because you have that access, which is really cool. And then the last one, too, really, is the $47 one is for those of you who are like, I'm not sure if I want to buy the material to have it on it all, but I'd like to go back and watch just during the 10 days. That's $47 for the 10-day all access pass. And then the I Want It All package is where basically you get the flash drive, the digital downloads, and the app. So that's the short and quick and dirty details on that. And I'll pop this back in and just say thanks for tuning in. I hope that was educational for you all. Thanks for staying on with us. And again, just keep sharing the event. We really appreciate it. And last note on this is that it is free. Where this isn't a bait and switch thing where you come in and it's free and then you have to pay. We have the options where you can do the free one or you can do the paid. It just depends on what experience you want. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. And again, thank you so much, Danielle and Nan. You guys can send me an invoice for your time in the mail, okay? And I am kidding, by the way, but you can maybe still send it anyways. All right, everybody, have a great night, a great day, depending on where you're tuning in from around the world, or if you're watching the replay, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next one or in another presentation.